I don't know why those words won't leave me alone. I liked you first. She didn't say them loud. She leaned in so close I could almost hear the breath behind the whisper. It wasn't the kind of thing you expect to hear from someone like her. Not at all. The day had been ordinary. I was at the back of the campus workshop, where old desks and squeaky chairs went to die. Dust clung to my shirt, and my hands smelled of varnish. I wasn't supposed to be there long, just fixing a broken cabinet door for extra credit. But she showed up, as if the room belonged to her. Ms. Rivas. Everyone knew her as the calm one. Mid-40s, always walking with her books tucked under one arm, glasses sliding down the bridge of her nose. She didn't need to raise her voice. People just quieted down when she entered. I had never been alone with her before. She stood by the door for a moment, not saying anything. The light from the high windows caught strands of gray in her hair, and it made her look sharper, not older. She looked around the room, then at me, just once, steady, before her eyes moved away again. "You work better with your sleeves rolled up," she said finally, her voice low. "That way you don't get caught on the hinges." It was nothing, just advice. But the way she said it made me stop moving. I realized I was holding the screwdriver too tight. My palms had started to sweat. I pushed my sleeves up anyway. "Thanks," I muttered. She came closer. Too close for a teacher checking on a repair job. Her perfume was faint, like citrus left in sunlight too long. She bent down slightly, watching the cabinet door as I adjusted the screw. For a moment, her shoulder brushed mine. Neither of us moved away. I couldn't think straight. My mind kept circling stupid things. How warm her skin must feel, why my throat was dry, whether she noticed how long I hesitated before tightening the last screw. And then, without lifting her head, she whispered it. "I liked you first." It was so quiet I almost convinced myself I imagined it. My chest tightened, and I froze with the screwdriver halfway turned. When I finally looked at her, she was already walking toward the shelves at the far end of the room, pulling out an old binder like she hadn't said anything at all. The cabinet door clicked shut perfectly. My hands were shaking. I didn't ask her what she meant. I didn't even thank her when she left. The room stayed too quiet after she was gone, like the air itself had heard something it wasn't supposed to. That night, I kept replaying her voice in my head, like I missed something, or maybe wanted something. It should have ended there. A whisper, a misunderstanding, a mistake I could file away as exhaustion or imagination. But the problem was, she didn't act like it was a mistake. Not the next day. Not when she asked me to stay behind after class to help her sort through a stack of battered exam papers. Felt dangerous even before the door clicked shut. She wasn't just a teacher. She was my teacher. She held the kind of authority you don't question, the kind that made students straighten their backs as soon as she walked in. And yet here I was, watching her press her fingers to her temple, glasses slipping again, her voice softer than I had ever heard. "Everything's been heavier lately," she murmured. Her hand lingered on the stack of papers, but she wasn't really looking at them. I didn't know what to say. I shouldn't have asked, but the words slipped out anyway. "Are you okay?" Her eyes flicked to mine. There was a faint redness at the corners, as though she hadn't slept. She gave a small, almost bitter smile. "I tell my students not to make excuses, but I keep finding them for myself." I swallowed hard. She wasn't supposed to say things like that. Not to me. But the truth was I wanted her to. I wanted to know what weighed on her, why her laugh was rare, why her voice always sounded tired when the hallways emptied. While she shuffled the papers, I noticed her nails, neat but chipped at the edges. The way her wrist trembled when she reached for her pen. Details I shouldn't have been cataloging, but couldn't help. "Can you stay a bit longer?" she asked suddenly, not looking up. "These papers won't sort themselves." The excuse was thin. We both knew it. My pulse jumped in my neck. "Yeah," I said too quickly. She gave a quiet hum, relief or hesitation. I couldn't tell. When she moved closer to hand me a stack, her fingers brushed mine. Light, barely there, but deliberate enough that I froze. My tongue itched with something reckless, something I shouldn't say. That maybe I heard her whisper, that maybe I wanted her to mean it. But all I managed was silence. And in that silence, she touched my arm, firm, brief, but enough to make the floor tilt under me. I told myself I wouldn't stay long. Just help her sort through the papers, stack them neatly, leave before anything could blur the line further. But the room had grown too quiet, and every time she leaned closer, that plan seemed to slip further away. She sighed suddenly, low, like it had been trapped in her chest all day. I thought I'd be better at this by now. I glanced up. Better at what? Her hand hovered over the exams, then stilled. At being alone. The words came out sharper than she meant, I think, because she quickly looked away, busying herself with shuffling papers that didn't need shuffling. Something twisted in me. She wasn't supposed to admit things like that. Not to me. Not when I could see her shoulders tighten, as if saying it out loud had left her exposed. Before I could stop myself, I said quietly, "You're not. You don't seem alone." She looked at me then, really looked, and I felt heat crawl up my neck. I wanted to pull the words back, but they hung in the air between us, too loud in the silence. She stepped closer, close enough that I could see the faint smear of ink on her thumb. For a second, her hand brushed against the back of mine as she reached for another stack of papers. My fingers twitched uselessly, like they wanted to move on their own. And then a sharp knock at the door. We both flinched. "Ma'am." A girl's voice, high-pitched, probably one of her student assistants. "The principal's office is asking for you." Ms. Rivas straightened instantly, pulling her hand back. Her face smoothed over, professional again, though the tips of her ears flushed pink. "Tell them I'll be there in 5. The footsteps faded. The silence returned. Only now it wasn't calm. It was charged, brittle, like one wrong move could crack it wide open. I tried to focus on the papers, but my hand brushed hers again, and this time she didn't move away. For a heartbeat too long, neither of us did. "I shouldn't keep you," I whispered, but the words felt weak, like I didn't mean them. Her gaze held mine, steady, unreadable. "Maybe you should," she said softly. The room felt smaller, the distance between us thinner. And for the first time, I wasn't sure either of us wanted to stop it. The stack of papers was already done, but neither of us moved to leave. The clock on the wall ticked, every second louder than the last. She stood by the desk, arms crossed loosely, but her eyes kept drifting toward me. Quick glances she pretended weren't happening. "Why do you stay?" she asked suddenly. The question hit harder than it should have. Her tone was casual, almost dismissive, but her fingers tapped against her arm, restless. I tried to smile, but it came out uneven. "Maybe I don't mind helping. You could go home, be with your friends, do something normal." Her voice lingered on that last word, as if normal had slipped too far away from her. I wanted to tell her the truth, that I wasn't here for the papers, that I couldn't stop thinking about the whisper in the workshop, the way her hand had brushed mine like a secret. Instead I muttered, "Maybe normal feels boring." Her laugh was short, breathless. Not amusement, but recognition. She stepped closer, until the edge of the desk pressed into my hip. "Careful," she said. Her voice was lower now, almost warning. "You don't know what you're playing with." I looked at her, and for once I didn't look away. "Maybe I do." Something shifted then, her guard, her composure. For the first time, she didn't seem untouchable. She seemed tired, lonely, and burning under the weight of it all. "I told myself not to," she whispered. "Not again." I should have asked what, but I didn't. I didn't want details. I just wanted to understand the way her voice broke on that word, the way her hand hovered at her side, uncertain. And then she reached out, resting her palm flat against the table beside me, so close I could feel the warmth radiating. "Tell me," she said, her eyes locked on mine. "If I said I crossed a line, would you stop me?" My throat closed. Every excuse, every reason to walk out of the room, scattered. The silence swelled between us, heavy, unbearable. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. She didn't move. Neither did I. And in that loaded stillness, one thought pulsed louder than everything else. This was the moment everything could change. Her question still echoed between us. "Would you stop me?" When the door creaked open without warning. "Ma'am." It was her niece, the one I'd seen around campus before. Younger than me, maybe 17. She froze in the doorway, eyes darting from me to her aunt, then back again. The silence cracked like glass. Ms. Rivas straightened so quickly the chair legs screeched against the floor. "You shouldn't be here," she said sharply, more defensive than angry. But the niece didn't budge. Her stare locked on me, suspicious, territorial in a way I didn't expect. "He's mine," she said flatly. My heart kicked hard against my ribs. The words didn't even make sense. Not in that moment. But the way she said them, certain, unshaken, made the air colder. Ms. Rivas inhaled sharply, as if the room had lost all its oxygen. "Enough," she said, her tone low and controlled. "You don't understand." The girl's eyes narrowed. "No, you don't. I saw the way you looked at him. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to speak, explain, but my throat locked. My mind scrambled with fragments. The whisper in the workshop, the touches, the silence that had stretched too far. And then, the twist that rattled everything. "She's done this before." The niece spat, glaring at her aunt. "You think I don't know? You ruin people. You use them." The words cut, even to me. But Ms. Rivas, she didn't deny it. Her face flickered, something raw breaking through. Regret, shame, maybe both. Her voice cracked. "Get out." The niece stared a beat longer, lips pressed tight, then stormed away, the door slamming so hard the windows rattled. Silence again. But not the same silence. This one burned. I turned to her, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. Her shoulders hunched, her hand clutching the edge of the desk like it was the only thing keeping her steady. "I told you," she whispered. "I told you I wasn't supposed to." I stepped forward before I could stop myself. "Is it true?" My voice sounded rough, desperate. What she said. Her eyes lifted finally, wet at the edges, and for the first time she didn't look like the teacher everyone respected. She looked like someone drowning. "Yes," she breathed. "But not with you. With you, it's different." And that difference was exactly what terrified me. I didn't know which cut deeper, her niece's accusation, or the way she hadn't denied it. The silence that followed was unbearable, thick with things neither of us knew how to name. Finally, I said it. "Why me?" Her lips parted, but she didn't answer right away. She pushed her glasses up with a trembling hand, as if hiding behind the motion. "Because you look at me like I'm still here, not invisible, not used up." The honesty in her voice pulled the air right out of me. She wasn't the untouchable teacher anymore. She was someone raw, someone who had been carrying too much for too long. I stepped closer before my head could talk me out of it. "You think I don't see the weight you carry? That I don't notice how you leave class after everyone else? How you rub your wrist when no one's watching? How your smile never lasts more than 2 seconds?" Her eyes widened, glassy. "You shouldn't notice those things." "But I do," I whispered. "I can't stop." For the first time, she didn't look away. She held my stare, like she was testing if I'd flinch. And when I didn't, something inside her broke. "I'm afraid," she admitted. Just 2 words, but they cracked her open. I swallowed hard. "So am I." We stood there, too close, too quiet. Her hand lifted, hesitated in the space between us. And then, slowly, she set it against my chest. Not pulling me closer, not pushing me away, just resting there, trembling. "Say it," she breathed. "If this is real, say it." My heart hammered so loudly I thought she could feel it beneath her palm. I wanted to tell her everything, that I replayed her voice in my head at night, that I couldn't unhear the whisper, that I wanted her in ways I didn't have words for. Instead, I said the only thing that mattered. "I don't want this to be a secret." Her eyes closed, as if the weight of that truth was heavier than any denial. When she opened them again, they were wet, shining. "You know what that means," she said softly. "Yeah," I answered. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of risk, of promise, of a choice neither of us could take back. And for once, neither of us moved away. The days after that night blurred together. The workshop, the stacks of papers, the whispers that shouldn't have been said. They all stayed with me like echoes I couldn't shake. But what changed wasn't just what happened between us. It was how I saw her, and how she let herself be seen. She didn't avoid me. She didn't hide. When she walked into class, she was still Ms. Rivas, composed, respected, the one students straightened up for. But I noticed the difference in her glance when our eyes met. It wasn't denial anymore. It wasn't fear. It was acknowledgement. Quiet, unspoken, but real. Her niece stopped showing up around the classroom. Rumors never spread, or maybe they did and died before reaching me. What mattered was the choice we made together, not to erase what happened, but not to let it consume us either. We talked once more, alone, in the same quiet room where everything began. "You'll move on," she said softly. Her fingers traced the edge of a desk, her shoulders tense like she was bracing for something heavy. "Maybe," I said, "but don't pretend this didn't matter." Her lips trembled into a faint smile. "It mattered more than you know." That was our goodbye. Not dramatic, not broken, just a line drawn with respect and regret at the same time. She chose to step back, and I chose not to fight her choice. What lingered, though, was the honesty we'd shared. She admitted fear. I admitted need. For once, neither of us pretended to be invulnerable. That mattered. Maybe that was enough. Looking back now, I think the lesson wasn't about forbidden lines or whispers in quiet rooms. It was about how fragile people are, even the ones who seem untouchable, and how sometimes the smallest glance, the briefest touch, can change the way two people carry themselves in the world. I walked away with more questions than answers. But I carried something else too, the memory of being seen, and of seeing someone else so fully that it left a mark. And maybe that's what intimacy really is. Not perfection, not permanence, just two people meeting each other for a moment without masks. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?